We draw our hope, of course, from you. And when you came to visit the foundation last year to talk about your new book, that was a great shot in the arm. And of course, we continue to think about those lessons. But since that time, when we last saw you, of course, the COVID pandemic has intervened, and you have all along continued to advocate for the value of an important but often undervalued, too often undervalued, and unseen workforce in our world. And I'd be curious, just thinking about the passage of time here, what, if any, changes in attitudes toward domestic work and or domestic workers you've noticed during this past period, which I think of as a pandemic, of course, in health terms, but the twin pandemics that we've seen where it's been intertwined with so much racism and white supremacy as well.
Well, I think that all of us in our own way are experiencing how the pandemic has kind of disrupted everything about the way that we live, work, and care in this country in a way that has also revealed a lot that we took for granted as the status quo. And one of those dynamics was really how much work in our economy it was invisible and frankly really undervalued, and how many workers, like domestic workers, were working incredibly hard and still not able to make ends meet. And it turns out some of those workers are actually essential to our health, our safety, and our well being. And so I do feel like there's been an awakening about just how much work is essential. And could it be perhaps even that everyone who's working is essential and deserves access to a safety net and basic dignity and protections in the workplace? I think of domestic workers and I think about the caregiving that we all rely on in order to do what we do in the world. And yet, most domestic workers earned poverty wages, and 80% didn't have access to any paid sick days going into the pandemic. And I think that this newfound awareness about just how essential this work is to everything in our economy and in our families is the probably the biggest opening in decades to address the conditions of work and improve them for this workforce that is disproportionately women of color, has always been Black, brown, many immigrant women who do this work. And those women have been on the front lines of every dimension of the crisis of the last year. And I think to put them in the forefront of how we think about our economic recovery is actually a strategy for success here.